Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening here on our YouTube channel. Hope you guys are all doing well. We're going to carry on today, as usual, with selected excerpts. Now, today we also have the same topic as last week, but this is the last time we're doing it. Next week, we're going to move on to something new. So we're going to carry on with from the love of others to the love of the Creator. So we'll go through some selected excerpts. We're going to start from item 8. If you're new to the YouTube channel, you'll find on our YouTube channel a few semesters of introductory lessons if you're interested in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And if you want to take it one step further, you can always go to www.kabbalah.info, and you can always join like-minded people there with our KABU Academy, and they'll be more than happy to help you there if you want to carry on with your studying. So let's come to item number 8. We did a few lessons on this already. I think this is our, third lesson or the fourth one? Third lesson. Okay, so this is the third lesson we're doing on this topic. So let's see what the Kabbalists are saying. Now, remember before, when we first started talking about this, we said that the love of others is actually a tool for a person to get out of his narrow egoism, and it's an opportunity for a person to feel what's outside of themselves. Why? Because we're always feeling what's inside of us. Okay, according to the perception of reality, all our sensory organs perceive reality, and we feel everything and we see everything inside ourselves. So in order to step outside of that, the love of others is actually a tool, because a person is where his thoughts are. So if I convert that, instead of thinking about myself all the time, if I think about others, then I can actually, have that opportunity to kind of start feeling somebody else outside of myself. Okay, and that's what gives us an additional sensory organ, which you can also call a soul, which is the ability to feel the others rather than myself. Okay, because the way that we're currently built in our structure, we cannot feel others. We only feel everything according to our attributes. So this is why the love of others is a great, it's a great tool for a person to completely attain a higher level of consciousness. So let's carry on reading. This is item number 8 from Baal Islam, the Arvut article, the mutual guarantee article. And it's item 22. The impression that comes to a person when engaging in the commandments between man and the Creator is completely the same as the impression he gets when engaging in the commandments between man and man, since one is obliged to perform all the commandments for her sake, which is for the sake of the Creator otherwise, without any hope for self-love, meaning that no light or hope returns to him through his trouble in the form of reward or honor, etc. Here at this exalted point, the love of the Creator and the love of his friend unite and actually become one. In this manner, one affects a certain measure of advancement on the ladder of love for others in all the people of the world in general, since that degree which that individual caused by his actions, whether large or small, ultimately joins the future in shifting the world to the side of merit, since his share has been added and joins the shift. All right, so let's go sentence by sentence. If you have any questions, as usual, shoot them through, and we'll try to figure out from the article what the answer is. So the impression that comes to a person when engaging in the commandments between man and the Creator is completely the same as the impression he gets when engaging in the commandments between man and man. Okay, so let's just take that for instance. Now remember, when we're studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, what we're trying to engage here in is self-change. If I change, the way I see, feel, reality changes. Therefore, it doesn't really matter how I treat other people, because I'm not going to be selective according to them. I'm going to be selective according to exactly how my nature is, right? So currently we're egoistic, and according to my egoism, I'm only going to select how I choose to relate to people according to what makes me feel good. Right? We're all clear with that, right? Because that's what egoism is. So I'm always and always going to relate to others as accordingly how I can get benefit from them, how it makes me happy, in other words, right? So now if I change that nature by the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah, if I come to another nature, and if that nature is the love of others, then it's not going to make a difference who's in front of me, because my nature is now changed from self-love to the love of others. So whether it's Tom, Dick, or Harriet, or whether it's the creator, it's not really going to matter. Okay, it's just going to be like me loving whoever is in front of me. I'm going to relate according to that. Now, what does it mean to love others? Obviously, we're not talking about the way people think about it here in our corporeal sensory organs right now, because if our nature is egotistic, then this egoism is going to rule every aspect of my life. Whether I hate somebody or love somebody, I'm always going to be doing it from a self-centered, self-benefit point of view. So unless or until this nature completely changes and takes a completely different turn, which is the love of others without any self-benefit, then, that's it. Nothing's going to change, right? So once I change completely, though, and do things without any self-benefit, if I can manage to get to that higher level of consciousness, then it doesn't really matter if the creator is in front of me or somebody else, because the change is always with me. Okay, and if I'm differentiating people, that means I'm still treating people selfishly. Okay, because I'm discriminating, okay, between who can give me better benefit and who won't. All right, so the important thing here is to understand that I have to change, the individual. The creator is not going to change. If we ask the creator to change, like those religious people out there on the street, then, well, that's a bit nuisance, isn't it? Because it's like telling God, listen, you made a mistake, so you better change your attitude towards me. Okay, that's the kind of prayer that normally religions get people to do, right? What do they want from the creator, from God or whatever? They want their lives to be better, don't they? Okay, so that's what they're praying. But, well, who brought you all of that in the first place? Okay, so the creator already brought you all the mishaps of life, and now you're telling the creator to take them away. It's like you're telling him, you don't know what you're doing, dude. Okay, so can you, just sort yourself out? Okay, so obviously that's not going to work, and it hasn't been working ever since the history of religions. Okay, so what has to work is whatever comes my way, whatever comes to me in life, I have to think about how I should be turning or using that state into a self-transformation so I can, overcome my egoism and be above self-benefit. Obviously, we have to do that inside the group, right? I can't do that with other people from all around the world on the streets or whatever. It has to be in a controlled environment where we're all of the same opinion that we need to attain a higher level of consciousness. Okay, so when it's talking about the commandments between man and the creator, commandments between man and man, you just have to understand there's only one commandment, and that is to change your nature. There is no other commandment. The creator doesn't want you to do anything else except to change yourself so you can become a higher being, and that's it. And the way to do that is to get out of your selfish nature, and the tool for doing that is the love of others. Okay, does that make sense? That's like 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, right? Hopefully. Okay, so there's nothing complicated here. The only thing that we have to do is change our perspective, the way we look at and the way we observe life from a different nature, which is called love of others and bestowal. So what we need to do is to engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah with the intention that that's what we want to do. All right, so we want to engage in the wisdom of Kabbalah with the intention that the study brings change to us. What kind of a change? A segregation between our egoistic nature and our selves, let's say. How, like getting rid of my egoistic nature, kind of like detaching from my egoism, and adding to it the love of others. Okay? And that should always be the intention, so that we could actually bestow just like the Creator is bestowing. Okay? Since one is obliged to perform all of the commandments lishma, meaning for the sake of the Creator. Now, for the sake of the Creator, I've explained it a few times before in the previous weeks. The Creator doesn't need anything from us. Okay? Because if he did, he would not be perfect. Okay? So the Creator doesn't need anything from us. All of this big mess we're in, believe it or not, is so that we can get a benefit out of it. Okay? So we're in this big jungle with all the world's problems and all kinds of dramas and so forth, okay? And all of that is for our benefit. And it's hard to believe while looking at humanity and seeing how much problems they're going through. It's really difficult to believe that the Creator made all this for our benefit, okay? Because we don't really feel much benefit from all of this. However, this is because we don't really understand what the goal is. We don't understand what we're supposed to be. We don't understand what we're supposed to grow into. We don't understand what we're supposed to attain. We're lost here. We have no clue about what to do with ourselves. And because we don't have a clue, we've invented for ourselves all kinds of religions, all kinds of philosophies, all kinds of everything to kind of practice, even football games. Okay, Michelle, if you could just turn your microphone off, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, so we've invented all kinds of distractions for ourselves, from, I don't know, the basketball league to video games, just anything to forget about life, okay, including drugs, alcohol, all kinds of entertainment, just so that I don't have to face this question, why am I living? So the whole idea is not that the Creator needs something from us, but we, as people living, need to understand that there's a purpose to our life, which we need to attain. And all of the suffering that we're receiving is because we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So sometimes we get a lot of people complaining about the Creator. Why did he create us for all this benefit and stuff? We're going through hell, literally, on earth. And, how can you justify the Creator? Well, he also doesn't need our justification. Okay, he needs nothing from us. We need to grow up, just like kids need to grow up and stand on their own 2 feet. And people also need to grow up and stand on their own 2 feet in the reality, and this higher reality, higher perception. And that's it. All right, so all of this is for our benefit. Here at this exalted point, the love of the Creator and the love of his friend unite and actually become one. So if we can learn to love others properly, not according to what I think love is, but according to the real laws of nature, then obviously, because we've attained that higher level, that real love they're talking about, we can also feel, perceive, and connect with the Creator as well. And if we all do this, we're advancing ourselves step by step in the rungs of the ladder. So the advancement of the ladder of love of others in all the people of the world in general, since that degree which that individual caused by his actions, whether large or small, ultimately joins the future in shifting the world to the side of merit, since his share has been added and joins the shift. So if all of us make a little bit of effort every day, this goes a long way. All right, because then it impacts the people around us. Okay, sometimes your friends are probably coming to you and saying, well, what's with you? You've changed. You're not the old person I used to know. Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness, because sometimes you meet people, they're like the same people since your teenage years. And you're thinking, well, what have you been doing all these years? Okay, obviously nothing, right? So you see how years can go by. And a person doesn't even realize that they've just wasted a whole life because they haven't gone through any of these changes. So, they're still talking about the same thing they were talking when you were in college. Okay, it's like nothing's changed. And then they say, let's catch up. Catch up about what, man? We're like a few hundred years ahead. Like moved on. What do you want to talk about? This is why we find it very difficult to go back to our corporeal relationships and friends, because you're just not there. You're just completely detached from where you were years ago, and so they say you've changed, and you say, yeah, you bet. Okay, that's just how it is. Okay, what can you do? But this will also impact them as well. Okay, because everyone who's around us, who's close to us, also get impacted by our change. So we're actually also helping the whole of humanity. Okay, so let's read the excerpt, actually, number 9 from Rabash's article number 13, Come On to Pharaoh, number 2. We should know that we were given love of friends to learn how to avoid blemishing the king's honor. In other words, unless he has no other desire except to give contentment to the king, he will certainly blemish the king's honor, which is called passing on kedusha to the external ones. For this reason, we mustn't underestimate the importance of the work in love of friends, for by that we will learn how to exit self-love and enter the path of love of others. And when he completes the work of love of friends, he will be able to be rewarded with love of the Creator. Once again, it's basically telling us, right? It's basically telling us we only have this thing to do. Okay, so religions have hundreds and hundreds of things that you need to do every day, probably. All right, if you open any religious books, they'll give you a list of things to do every day. But all of that is really not what we should be engaging in. We should be engaging in only the love of friends. Okay, why? We should know that we were given love of friends to learn how to avoid blemishing the king's honor. Okay, once again, the king doesn't need to be honored. The king, the creator, whatever you want to call him, the upper force, God, I don't know. All right, his nature is love and bestow. And the reason we're always feeling like we're getting slapped by some bad daddy, okay, all the time, is because we're naughty kids, right? So we need to understand what our nature is. We're the only creatures in the world who destroy the place they live in. Can you imagine that? Now, we live on the planet and we're wrecking it, destroying it. So what does that tell you? We're eating each other up, okay? We're killing each other all the time, constant wars, problems with, I don't know, society, violence in the family, with the kids, with, I don't know, countries, everything is a big mess. Why? Because humanity, if we just step back for a moment and look at what we're doing in life, it's not hard to see that we have a humanity crisis. We don't know how to behave. Okay? We're completely out of balance and have gone nuts. Okay? That's the situation we're in. And this is what we need to bring to balance. Okay? So the whole of humanity in this egoistic structure and nature, is destroying everything. We're destroying ourselves even. So from eating ourselves up to eating others, destroying the world, eating up the whole world, we just want to swallow everything and get the maximum pleasure that we can out of life. However, not understanding that the way we live cannot make us happy. It cannot make us happy. So we're at a dead end. We're stuck. And because we're stuck, we need to understand that we need to change. We need to change the way we're living. And I think humanity is coming closer and closer to understanding that, we cannot carry on living like this. Okay, because the amount of stress is unbearable. There's a lot of stress, pressure. This is why we've got suicides going off the roof, depression, drug abuse, opiates, all kinds of, I don't know, everybody's in a big mess, right? If you take a look at society. So how do we just have to observe and look at ourselves, even if we don't know what to do, even if we don't know how to fix all that. Just observing ourselves a little bit is enough to awaken anybody to think that, wait a minute, there's something like gravely wrong here. And this is what we need to kind of see, because if we begin to see and understand how our nature is hurting us, that we're every day shooting ourselves in the foot, then we can think about an alternative way to live. Until that understanding comes to a person, what has to happen is suffering. Okay, this is why humanity is suffering, right? They're suffering until you kind of like come to a state where you can't bear it anymore. And you think, why am I suffering? What's the reason for it all? And if a person can't find an answer, well, he's got a few ways to go. Either he's going to take his life, jump off the bridge, he's going to go into drugs, alcohol, or video games, or religion, anything to get out of this question, okay? Anything to shut his mind off. So this is why we need to really understand how human nature works. We need to understand we can't be happy in our current nature. And this is the whole thing about blemishing the king's honor. That by living in self-love, we're actually like destroying everything. We're blemishing everything, actually. The whole of creation. That's what the king's honor is. The whole of creation. And we're just destroying it, wrecking it. Okay, so what we have to do in order to change, okay, we have to go through this personal transformation. We can't change the world. I think everybody understands by now, nobody can change the world. Okay, after thousands of years of humanity trying to change the world, I think we all come to an agreement that that's not going to happen. So I think this is the time where we all need to sit down and think, well, how am I going to change, because I can't change anything else? And by the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah, we can actually, first thing we need to see with the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah and applying it in our groups is to see how much we are in this swamp called self-love. And once I discover what the depth and the density of the swamp is, then I can start thinking about, well, how would it be like to be the opposite of what I am? Okay, because remember, in the perception of reality, we understand that I need two opposite ends to perceive reality. So I have to kind of like bring two opposites to some kind of reconciliation. In order for me to depict to myself what love is, I have to feel where absolute evil is. So this is where humanity is going, right? We're going more and more towards the recognition of our nature's evil. Okay, so that way, hopefully, before they all go crazy and press the wrong button, we can come to some kind of recognition. We don't have to go through mass sufferings. So this is why we mustn't underestimate the importance of the work in the love of friends, because actually this is the only thing we need to do. So if all of us start thinking about others rather than ourselves in this controlled environment, then this controlled environment gives us the ability to kind of, look at life, perceive life, and feel life actually from a different angle. So we can feel life differently above our egoism. And that's actually what we need to, that's the wall that we really need to break, this egoism. It is the wall, the veil that is actually stopping us from going forward. And if I see that that's what's stopping me, then I can willingly want to do something against it, until I see that my egoism is my true enemy, that because of it I'm suffering all the time. There is no way I will want to change. Okay, so this is like really important to understand. This is why humanity is suffering. Not that we'd like them to suffer. Okay, this is why I would like to tell everyone about it, but this is just how it is. So until a person asks the question, why am I living? What's the purpose of life? It's a big mess, I'm afraid. All right, any questions? Are we good? What's going on? You got 3 questions. Okay, Rachel's asking, how to interact with others not practicing Kabbalah? They're also the creator after all, right? Yeah, well, look, I like to keep that to the minimum. Okay, the reason is simple, right? First of all, we understand human nature is egoism. Okay, so, the more I'm sticking around with them, the more I'm going to get, probably, suffering. Okay, I'm going to get probably, the probability of me ending up with something bad is more. Okay, so this doesn't mean obviously we need to delete the outside world at all. Inside our normal lives, because we go to work, right? We go to work, we got associates, we've got friends on the outside, family, and all kinds of stuff, right? So we just have to treat them like how the normal world is treating them. Like, you be a nice person. But in terms of understanding human nature, we have to understand that, the more you relate to the people outside like you relate to the group, the more it's not going to work out for you. So the outside world, you have to treat them according to the rules of the outside world. And the group, you've got to treat according to the rules of spirituality, which is love thy friend as thyself. Okay. So towards the outside, we're obviously not bad people. We don't want to do any harm to anyone. Okay, I want to treat everyone nice and cute and sweet. On the other hand, though, we understand that their nature is egoism as well. So, you got to kind of like have your guards up all the time, don't you? Okay. Just be aware of the situation. That's it. Okay. What is honor in Kabbalah connection? The honor of the Creator is the love of bestowal, because he created the whole of reality in perfection with the objective of bringing the whole of creation to that exalted state. And that's the honor of the Creator. And that's what we should be aiming towards. So our goal should always be towards that, realizing the honor of the Creator, to come to the purpose of life. And if we do anything against that, obviously we're, blemishing it, right? So, and you know what happens when we do that in life? Things start going pear-shaped. Okay. Okay. It's okay is asking, if I'm aware that I can't escape my will to receive and I actually want what I want for my benefit, how can I succeed in helping a friend to advance on the path? Well, specifically, if a friend is important for you, then you can. You see, in life, we choose desires according to importance. So if I want to go in the path of, like spiritual advancement, I have to make others more important than me. And that's against my nature, right? Because we're egoists. Like, we don't want to, like, for example, I don't want to give a lesson at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, 8 p.m. my time on a Tuesday night. I don't, Okay. So if I want to be honest, right? Because it's like, God, I don't want to give a lesson. I got to get up at 2 a.m. I'd rather hit the sack. Okay. But, okay. That's my desire to receive, talking to myself. Okay. And it's always going to have an excuse. You got to get up early. You got to focus. You got to do this and that. Now, tonight I've got 3 programs to do, right? I've got you guys. I've got another one with a journalist, and then I've got another one for our group for the 99. Okay. For the general public. I've got a program. Okay. So Tuesday night for me is like, something like that. Okay. But that's my desire to receive, talking. So what do I have to do? I have to work with it, don't I? I have to say to myself, well, look, obviously my desire to receive doesn't want this, because I don't see a benefit from this at all. Okay. However, though, there's something higher than myself. Okay. And that's the goal. Okay. So if I don't want to blemish the Creator's honor, well, I have to elevate the Creator's honor. So I have to increase the importance. And because I'm going to lack the importance all the time, so I have to turn to the creator, don't I? So Tuesday nights, me and the boss are always having a deep conversation. It's usually me complaining. Okay. Okay, but the whole idea is this is the chance you get to spill it all out. Put the cards on the table and talk straight with the creator, saying, listen, you created me in such a way I can't move. Why you're not giving me the movement that I need to get out of this. So you can then realize the state you're in, and the realization can bring you to a little chit chat, heart to heart with the creator. And that's where we need to get to. This is why recognition of evil is really important for us. A lot of people, when we talk about the recognition of evil in the wisdom of Kabbalah, I thought we were going to have a good time. We're going forward in spirituality, right? Yeah, well, okay, we're going to have a good time, but like that's at the end of the path. Okay, in the beginning, it's like a big mess. Okay, so why? So a lot of people like leave, right? They don't understand that I have to first see what needs to be fixed. I have to first discover what I can and cannot do. What are my boundaries? What are my capacities, capabilities? And I see that I'm lacking all of that because of my egoistic nature. So the Creator shows me the truth. Okay, this is why the wisdom of Kabbalah is called the wisdom of truth. The Creator shows me the true state I'm in. So on the one hand, I'm in self-benefit, and then I've got friends that I need to help to. And I'm like, well, I don't want to help anyone. Okay, so that's the truth. Okay, I've come to the truth. Well, that's great, because now I can thank the Creator. So finally, we're moving forward in life and we're seeing the truth. Okay, now I can turn to the Creator whenever I need to do something and I don't want to do it and I don't have the force to do it. I personally never have force to do anything for anybody. So I always have to call the big guy upstairs and say, listen, we got to get this done. So you know the drill, right? Okay, so put a bit of, energy into that. I don't know, coffee or whatever you're going to make me drink, and let's move forward. And that's just how it is. Okay, so if you don't ask the Creator, you don't have a relationship with him. Okay, so we need to kind of like understand that we're doing this dialogue with the Creator. I understand I need to make spirituality important, and I need to make an action towards that. Then he makes me see that, no, you're not able to do such a thing, okay, because it's against your nature. It's against your, you don't have such an ability. So then I can ask the Creator for help to give me the strength, and then I can justify the situation. And then I can justify the Creator as well, because then he's giving me the situation to make me see the truth I'm in. So that's one justification. I can say, oh, well, you were right about that one. Okay. And then I can then say, well, I need help, because, we've got to move forward to get to the purpose of life. And this is like really important. It's supposed to be important. I don't feel like it's important, but you better do something about it right now, because we've got 5 minutes to 8. Okay. And then he understands, I understand, we've got to kind of move forward. This is how it works. But if you do this little turn, this little dialogue, the Creator understands. He does. And he won't let you down. He doesn't let you down. He doesn't. He cannot. If you're asking for the right thing, the Creator cannot say no. And that's like, once you discover that, okay, that's the whole trick. It takes time to discover what to ask for and why you need what you need from him. Okay. And it takes because we're going round and round and round and round in circles until we're like, what does he want from me? He wants you to ask for strength to do the right thing, which currently in your nature, you are incapacitated to do so. And the only way you can ask is if you see the reality of the situation. And to see the reality of the situation, you got to do a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. And that's why it takes a while for us to kind of like get into spirituality. Because by the time we do a bunch of things, 1,000,001 actions, even 1,000,000,001 actions, And then we come to realize that you need to drag the creator in and show him a specific situation where you need him to fix. And if you don't see that, it's not going to happen. Right? And this is why the love of friends is the most important thing, right? Because I need him to fix exactly the problem that is, that is stopping me from loving others. Okay. And that's the sharp shooting we've got to do. Okay. What is stopping me from loving others? What's stopping me from doing things for others with joy and with sincerity and all that kind of, stuff. Okay. And then, then it's bingo, isn't it? It's then bingo night. Okay. Because then you get help. How do I make sure that my actions towards helping the friend doesn't blemish the king's honor? Well, we're always going to blemish it somehow because that's the mistake, you know what I mean? So you have to make a mistake. You have to blemish it. You've got to have a situation where you see your egoism. You have to, right? And it doesn't mean you need to go with it, okay? But you need to just see in your nature, that's why, what, this is me, and you know what? With all the studying we're doing about moving forward in spirituality and trying to raise ourselves to the love of others, this is just not good. Okay, this thing in me is just not good. And then you begin to decipher those little things. You begin to see them, right? When you see them, it's like you get corrected. Why? Because when you see your egoistic nature and you understand you don't want to use that, you become aware of it. Once you become aware of it, it's like you corrected it, right? So the creator is giving you the understanding, listen, that's something bad in you. So you think, okay, I'm going to put this on the shelf. Okay, I don't want to use that. Why? Because I'm now conscious about it. This is why we're reading all the articles right now. If we didn't read all these articles and we didn't know what to do, we'd never get to see the problem. But we're reading all this stuff and we're trying to apply it in the group, then we're going to see the problems. And if I don't run away from all of the mess, okay, feel bad, and if I don't run away but keep pushing on, the creator should constantly, every day, show me you're bad here, you're bad there, and you messed up then, you're really there, right? And then all these should add up. But this is really good because it's like me doing all the unhealthy things so I can stop doing them, right? So seeing my egoistic nature's bad side is already a sign that it's like ripe to be corrected. I can say I'm not going to do this. Just like smoking, I discover smoking is bad. All of a sudden, it's going to knock off 5 years from my life minimum. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to smoke that. Thank you very much. Despite the fact that I might love it. Okay. Why? Because there's an understanding of cause and consequence. And this is why the love of others is the most important thing. There is no other way to get out of myself. So what happens when I'm doing all this stuff? Well, it's all accumulating, isn't it? I'm constantly accumulating a bunch of behaviors which I just don't want to do. And I'm inclined to do it, though, because of my nature. But then I put the creator into the action, into the picture. I say, listen, you made me see this, and I can't help myself. So you got to help me help myself. Okay, so what does that give you? Well, that gives you willpower. Okay, so now why? Because when can you have willpower? You can have willpower if you've got understanding about what's bad and you don't want to do it. Okay, so now you got willpower. Well, where's that coming from? Well, because you asked for it. Okay, why do we need that power from above? Because I don't know where I'm going in spirituality, right? In this life, I can have willpower not to eat, I don't know, chips, okay, because I'm going to end up with a beer belly, okay, because, I can see cause and consequence, right? But in spirituality, we don't see that. So it's a big struggle every time me trying to overcome all these difficulties to do something for the benefit of somebody else's spiritual elevation, that's crazy. Okay, but that's specifically where you need the creator, because every cell in your body is like telling you that is crazy. Okay, and you understand it's crazy because egoistically, why should I work for somebody else's spiritual elevation? That's nuts. Okay, but specifically because you're forgetting about your own benefit and doing it for others, and you need the creator to step in to give you that extra bit of, I don't know, dopamine to push you forward a little bit, a little bit of energy, a boost juice. All right. So you can have a bit of that boost juice and move one step forward. That builds the relationship between you and the creator, which is building your attitude towards bestowal. That you don't have it in you, but you can with the help of the creator, which allows you to grow. And what is the creator really doing is he brings us the feeling of what it's like to take that next step. If you don't take that first step, okay, you're always going to be against it. So the biggest trick is to have the ability to take that first step and stick your head in. Okay, once you stick your head in, that's it, it's game over, because you'll get help. Okay, but the first move needs to come from the individual, and that is a problem. Okay, that's the problem. So doing that first move is a problem. So yeah, you got to go through that on every step, but that's just how it is. Okay. All right. Okay, I hope that's a bit more clearer. You understand, if we don't do things for other people, we cannot in any way have any impression or understanding of what our true nature is. And this is why people on the street, people on the outside, they all think they're good people. Mostly, if you look at the generality of society, they say, well, I'm a nice guy. Everybody's a nice guy. If you believed everybody else, you think, where's all the evil? Okay, because everybody's a nice guy. But that's just like, you see, when you start to work on yourself and start realizing what your nature is, and then studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, and then you start understanding you have to go completely against your nature, and then you're in a big dilemma. You're in a dilemma, because how are you going to change who you are, what you are? So yeah, it brings us to it's like a cliff. It's really high, and there's a rhino stampede coming behind you, and you go, now just jump into the lake. It's a bit high, but better than a rhino stampede, right? So yes, you just kind of like let yourself go into the waters and take your chances diving in. That's just how it is. Okay. But then you realize it works out well, even if you fail. And on the path, we have many of them, a lot of them, right? There's no shame in it. Because you fail, because you tried, you're not going to get lost in the forest if you don't get into the forest. Okay, so you got to go in. You got to take a stroll, and then you can say, okay, I'm lost. Okay, now what? So if you don't live a little, this is not gonna, it's not gonna be. We're not gonna feel what we are, who we are. This is why you can't practice the wisdom of Kabbalah on a mountaintop, meditating somewhere isolated from other people, because all of the emotions we go through at a human level, that needs to be evaluated, that needs to be researched, that needs to be checked. Not my relationship with my cat and dog, but my relationship with another person who is also an egoist. I'm an egoist, he or she's an egoist, the whole group is an egoist. And we want to understand what this is, and we want to understand what the purpose of life is. We want to study everything from this interaction. And we want to specifically target the areas which is, which is not enabling us to connect. This is why you'll find people in nature, they're at peace. I mean, because there's no one to give them a headache, right? Okay. So yeah, everybody says, well, hey. But what can you do? If you don't have headaches, you got no progress. Okay? There's no progress. So all of our progress is coming from stress, actually. Okay, same. This is also true for our bodily nature as well. Okay, the more restricted I am bodily, the body can, repair itself. So a lot of people, for example, when they're sick, they tend to rest more and eat more or whatever, so because they want to get well, right? But you're not giving the body the opportunity to clean itself out. All right, so what you should be doing is still going with the same routine and kind of like restricting the stuff. And that kind of gives the body the inner cleansing it needs to do. Okay, so what are you doing? You're basically, for example, limiting the food, right? So it's like when we fast, right? When we're doing a fast. So why do they do a fast? Because it actually cleans you out. Okay, it flushes you out, right? But what you have to do is obviously not go and binge all night. Okay, it's like, okay, so it's like that. So body's under stress. Okay, flowers will give more pollen when they're under stress. Okay, because it's working more to get things done. It's not relaxed. The more relaxed you are, okay, the more abundant everything is, the more dramatic and problematic it's going to get. Okay, it's going to cause you more problems. So same here as well. Once we begin to understand that development depends on a certain level of stress I need to go through, and which is seeing the truth and not really knowing what to do about it, but working on it, like figuring out what I should be doing with it. Does that make sense? Okay, because if I was all in a comfort zone, we'd never move forward. All right, so that's how it is. All right, so that's like pretty much, well, let's call it at night, for me anyway. Okay, we got one question, let me check it out. Rachel's asking, can you please give us another daily action like when you do after morning lesson every day? And is this for the 10? Is for the 10? To do as a 10? Yeah. Well, look, if you're in a 10 already, so you got the morning lesson, right? And then you got your prayer after the morning lesson. Yeah. And then during the day, you got a meeting at lunchtime and a meeting in the evening. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're doing. Okay, I'll tell you what we're doing, right? So you guys like have a BB set up. Every day there's the morning lesson, right? So if I've got a 10, I'm watching it with the 10. And then after the morning lesson, the first thing we want to do is summarize the lesson. What did we get from this lesson? Okay. So once we all chip in a sentence, okay, it's just one sentence each, 1 or 2 sentences each. So it doesn't go on for hours, okay? 15 minutes. And then we then take from this what we should ask from the Creator according to what we've just learned and feel we need to change. Okay, so I went to the lesson, summarized it, came to the conclusion with all of us together about what we need to ask for the Creator so we can move forward, because the lesson should show us where we're weak. All right. Just like now, right? We're doing a lesson, so we begin to see where we're lacking stuff, right? So now I've got to understand and see what I've got to turn to the Creator with. Okay. That's that. And then at lunchtime, you guys know we have a lunchtime lesson, right? 12 to 1 Israel time. Okay. So then after that, we have a meeting like 15 minutes with the 10. We read a few things, watch maybe a clip or 2 from the morning lesson. Kind of, it's like taking a shower, okay, in the midday shower. Kind of like get rid of all the corporeal stuff, give us a good scrub, and then get back into the daily routine of life on the corporeal level. Okay. And then we've got the evening session where we meet for half an hour. We again listen to maybe one or two things from the lesson. We read a few things. Maybe we do a bit of a, workshop and have a chat about what we read and how we can help each other to move forward, what we need to do in order to help our friends to advance and so on, and then call it a night. Okay, so that's like a routine, which you guys can also incorporate, right? If you're with the BB guys, even if you're working alone, right? Even if you, let's say you don't have a group, okay, what you should have, right? You guys know it's recommended to have a 10, okay? But let's say you're in no man's land, but you got virtual, you got internet, you guys should all have, even if you're in no man's land, you should have a 10, right? Yeah, so, okay, but let's say you don't, then you should make a routine for yourself. Like the morning lesson, I'm going to read something at lunchtime, I'm going to read something in the evening, and then I'm going to call it a night. So I'm kind of like beginning the day with the morning lesson. Then in the lunchtime, I'm kind of like cleaning myself up a little bit. And in the evening, I'm going to sleep with spirituality again. Right, so I've got this kind of like the flow of the day. Okay. And that's it. And then you can build that prayer. You can keep that prayer all the time in your mind. So from the morning to the lunchtime and from lunchtime to the evening, you still got something to work with during those hours because you got that prayer that you built. Okay, you're not going to forget it. You're going to go over it. All right. And that's how we can always get connected with the Creator. And when we get disconnected, okay, then that's when you can turn to the Creator. If it was important, we wouldn't be disconnected. So every time we get disconnected, we realize it's not important. Okay, so all of these ups and downs we need to go through, and obviously having a responsibility in the 10 or in dissemination will also help. Okay, for example, like this helps me a lot. It's like I'm helping you guys, I'm helping me. Okay, why? Because I have to constantly overcome. Okay, so it's like a lot of work, like burning a lot of calories. That's how it is, but that's just how it is. So if you have a routine, okay, where you do things for other people, then that routine helps a lot for you to clarify where you lack things and how you can increase the importance, what you can, what you cannot do, and how you can turn to the Creator, how you can ask for help, why you need to, you can even justify why you need this help, why you need this thing to happen. Okay, so it's a bit of self-work, but if you guys do it day to day, you'll get into it, and then it'll be like a real dialogue. It'll be a dialogue between you and life. Okay, all right, great. So muscle up, buckle up, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.